Welcome all of you in class 7th science classes. And students, in our previous video we have started chapter 8 winds, storms and cyclones, and we have discussed the properties of air, and we have discussed the properties of air by performing some activities. So today we are going to take a topic, air expands on heating. For this topic we have done one activity, that is activity 8.5. So today we are doing one more activity, that is 8.6. So by performing this activity we can say that hot air is lighter than cold air, and to perform this activity the things which are needed are two empty paper bags, as you can see in the figure 8.7, and wooden stick and candle and matchstick and thread. So now we are going to perform this activity. What we have to do, take two paper bags or empty paper cups of the same size. Hang the two bags in the inverted position on the two ends of a metal or wooden stick. Tie a piece of thread in the middle of the stick. Hold the stick by the thread as it is showing in figure 8.7 as in a balance. Put a burning candle below one of the bags as shown in the figure. Observe what happens. Why is the balance of the bags disturbed? Does this activity indicate that warm air rises up? As the warm air rises up, it pushes the bag above the candle. Does the disturbance of the balance suggest that warm air is lighter than the cold air? Can you now explain why smoke always rises up? So basically students, you have to observe figure 8.7, the first condition, and then after putting the candle below one of the bag, the condition 2 you have to observe. So basically what we have done in this activity, we have to take two empty paper bags, or we can take empty paper cups also of exactly the same size. Then hang the two paper bags in inverted position, that means with their face pointing downwards, as you can see in figure 8.7, at the two ends of a light wooden stick with the help of a piece of thread. Now tie a piece of thread in the middle of the stick. The other end of this thread is tied to a hook that is fixed to a rigid surface. Now put a burning candle below the open mouth of the left side paper bag. Now you have to observe. You will observe that wooden stick is perfectly horizontal, showing that two paper bags contain an equal mass of the same air, that is cold air, that you can observe in condition 1. When a burning candle is placed below the left side paper bag, you see that after some time the left side paper bag, or we can say the left side of the wooden stick, goes up. This is because the air above the candle gets heated. So candle flame gets heated and the hot air, being lighter, rises up and fills the left side paper bag after displacing the heavier cold air from it. So therefore the left end of wooden stick become lighter and moves up. So by this activity we can say that hot air is lighter than cold air. That's why we can say that smoke always rises up. So when you burn a heap of dry leaves, grasses and paper, the smoke rises upward, and smoke is always accompanied by hot air. Hot air being lighter rises up, therefore smoke contained in hot air always rises up. Similarly, you must have seen that hot air balloons rises up in a air. This is due to the reason that hot air filled in them is lighter and less dense than the surrounding cold air. Now our next topic is wind currents are generated due to uneven heating on the earth. So, in nature, there are several situations where warm air rises at a place. The air pressure at that place gets lowered. The cold air from the surrounding areas rushes in to fill its place. This sets up convection in air, also known as convection current in air. So, the greater difference in air pressure, the faster the air moves. So, the difference in air pressure created in nature are due to uneven heating of earth in the region. Thus, wind currents are generated due to unequal heating of the earth. So, it takes place in two situations. One, unequal heating between the equator and poles of the earth, and second condition, unequal heating of the land and water of oceans. So first we will discuss the situation 1, that is uneven heating between the equator and the poles. So wind produced by uneven heating between the equator and poles of the earth. You might have learned in geography that regions close to the equator get maximum heat from the sun. The air in these regions gets warm. The warm air rises and the cooler air from the region in the 0 to 30 degree latitude belt on either side of the equator moves in. These winds blow from the north and the south towards the equator. At the poles, the air is colder than at latitude about 6 degrees. The warm air at these latitudes rises up and the cold wind from the polar region rushes in to take its place. In this way, wind circulation is set up from the poles to the warmer latitude as shown in figure 8.8. This is showing the this condition by the arrow. So you have to observe the figure 8.8 and you can see that the region close to the equator receive direct rays of the sun. So it is the hottest part of the earth and the air above the equatorial region gets heated and becomes warm. Then warm air, that is being lighter, rises, creating an area of low air pressure. This makes cooler, dense air from the tropical belt, that is 30 degree, blow towards the equator to take the place of warm rising air. And these permanent winds are called the northeast and southeast trade winds. The hot air that rises from the equator gets cooled and become heavy. It comes down near 30 degree north and 30 degree south latitude. This area becomes a region of high pressure. So from here the winds blow towards the equator and towards the pole. These winds blowing towards 60 degree north and 60 degree south latitudes are called westerlies. Again, the air at latitude of 60 degree on both the sides of the equator is warmer than at the poles, which is very cold. So the warmer air at 60 degree latitude rises up and creating the region of low air pressure, and cold air from the polar region, that is being at a higher pressure, rushes in to take its place. This makes the winds blow from cold polar region towards the 60 degree north and 60 degree south latitude. These winds are called polar winds. So the rotation of the earth makes the trade winds and polar winds blow in an easterly direction, that is showing in next figure also. So rather than blowing in straight north-south direction. So this is all about the flow of the winds. So the winds would have flown in the north-south direction from north to south or from south to north. A change in direction is however caused by the rotation of the earth. Now we'll study about the next situation, that is uneven heating of land and water. You have read about the sea breeze and land breeze in chapter 4. In summer, near the equator of the earth, equator the land near the in summer near the equator, the land warms up faster, and most of the time the temperature of the land is higher than that of water in the ocean. So the air over the land gets heated and rises. This causes the winds to flow from ocean towards the land. These are monsoon winds as it is showing in figure 8.9. So you can observe the uneven heating of the land, especially in Rajasthan desert. So monsoon winds you can see in the figure 8.9, that is southwest direction in summer, and these winds carry lots of water from the Indian Ocean. So students, the winds from the ocean carry water and bring rain, and it is a part of water cycle. So in the summer, land near the equator of the earth heats up faster than the water in ocean. So most of the time, temperature of the land is higher than that of water in the ocean. So we can say the air over the land gets heated and rises and creating a low pressure area. This causes the cooler winds blow in from the oceans towards the land, and the winds blowing from the ocean towards the land in summer are called summer monsoon winds, and these monsoon winds carry a lot of water from the ocean and bring large amount of rain on the land. And in India, the land gets heated much more than water in Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal during the summer. So the monsoon winds which blow from Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal bring heavy rainfall in most of the parts of India. So the summer monsoon is very important to the farmers in our country because most of the annual rainfall occurs at this time and helps in the growing crops. Many farmers in our country depend mainly on rain for the irrigation of their crops. However, it is not always happy ending. Rain often create problems. Can you list some of the problems? You can discuss the causes and solution of the problems with your teacher and parents. In nature itself, there are certain situations that can sometimes create disaster and pose threat to humans, animal and plant life. Now let's study two situations, that is thunderstorm and cyclone. So students, in winter, on other hand, wind blows from the land toward the ocean. So during winter, land cools down much faster than the water in ocean. So the temperature of water in the sea is higher than that of land. So the air over the water gets heated and rises and creating the low pressure area. So the cooler wind from the land rushes towards the ocean, and these winds are called winter monsoon winds, and this monsoon does not cause any major rainfall. So the winter monsoon picks up the moisture as it blows over the Bay of Bengal and brings rainfall to the coastal Tamil Nadu. So in nature itself, there are certain situations that can sometimes create disaster and threat to humans, animals and plant life. So now we'll study the two situations, that is thunderstorm and cyclone. Thunderstorm developed in hot, humid tropical areas like India very frequently. A violent storm with thunder and lightning is called thunderstorm. A violent storm with thunder and lightning is called thunderstorm. The rising temperature produce strong upward rising wind. These winds carry water droplets upward where they freeze and fall down again. The swift movement of the falling water droplets along with the rising air create lightning and sound. It is this event that we call a thunderstorm. You will read about lightning in higher classes. If a storm is accompanied by lightning, we must take the following precaution. So students, what is thunderstorm? We can say a violent storm with thunder and lightning is called thunderstorm. A thunderstorm is also known as electrical storm. Generally, thunderstorm require three conditions to form: moisture and unstable air mass and lifting force. So students, the sun heats the surface of the earth and the hot surface of the earth heats the air in contact with it. The warm air that is being lighted rises up and creating low pressure area, and cool air rushes in to take its place in the form of strong winds. If the air carries enough moisture, the moisture condenses when it comes in contact with colder air and forms cloud. We know that water vapor loses heat on condensation, so the air around the clouds get warm. This makes the air column, and with the clouds rises further and the pressure under the column drops even more. So eventually the raindrops become heavy enough to fall. Then the air at the top of the column cools and spread out. So the pressure above the column is high, so the cold air flows downwards. And now what is the thunderstorm? The upward movement of hot air and the downward movement of cold air leads to stormy winds accompanied by heavy rain, lightning and thunder. This event is called thunderstorm. So now we know that how thunderstorm is creating and actually what is thunderstorm. Now we'll discuss how thunderstorm becomes a cyclone. You know that water requires heat when it changes from liquid to vapor state. Does the water give back heat when vapor condenses into liquid? Yes, as we have discussed. Can you recall any experience to support this? Before cloud formation, water takes up heat from the atmosphere to change into vapor. When the water vapor changes back to liquid form as a raindrop, this heat is released to the atmosphere. So the heat released to the atmosphere warms the air around, and the air tends to rise and cause a drop in pressure. More air rushes to the center of the storm. This cycle is repeated and the chain of event ends with the formation of very low pressure system with very high speed winds revolving around it. It is this weather condition that we call a cyclone. Factors like wind speed, wind direction, temperature and humidity contribute to the development of cyclone. So this is how cyclone is creating, and students, we have to discuss that what precautions we have to take during the lightning. So do not take shelter under an isolated tree. If you are in the forest, take shelter under a small tree. Do not lie on the ground. Do not take shelter under an umbrella with the metallic end, because metal is a good conductor of electricity. Do not sit near a window, open garage, storage shades. Metal shades are not safe place to take shelter. A car or a bus is a safe place to take shelter. If you are in water, get out and go inside a building. So it is safer to be under the shrubs or a collection of trees of uniform height, and a single tall tree is close to the clouds, thus more likely to be hit by lightning. So during the lightning, you should avoid the contact with water and metallic objects. So the best place to take the shelter is a bus or car. It is because when the lightning strikes, car metal body can conduct lightning to the earth safely without harming you or causing any damage. That's why the best place to take the shelter is the bus or a car. So these precautions we can take during the lightning. Now we'll discuss about the cyclone, and we have discussed the formation of cyclone. Now we know that what is the meaning of cyclone. Cyclone is a huge revolving storm caused by very high speed winds blowing around a central area of low pressure zone over the ocean. That is the cyclone. And the formation of a cyclone is very complex process. Factors like wind speed, wind direction, temperature and humidity contribute to development of the cyclone. So the sun heats the surface of the ocean water. The warm water in turn heats the air above it. This causes a low pressure on vast area of the ocean. Due to low pressure, the moist air from the ocean surface begin to rise rapidly. This creates a strong upward wind that rotates. As the warm and moist air that is containing lot of water vapor rises high up in the atmosphere, it gets cooled and the water vapor present in it condenses to form clouds that is called thunder clouds, and when water vapor condenses, heat is released and the heat released by the condensation of water vapor in the atmosphere warms the air all around. This warm air rises higher into the atmosphere causing a low pressure. Then more air rushes to the center of the storm and this cycle is repeating, and the chain of event ends with the formation of very low pressure system with the very high speed winds revolving around it. So the weather condition consisting of a system of high speed winds revolving around a central area of very low pressure is called cyclone. And once cyclone is formed, it begins to move over the surface of ocean and the speed of wind in the cyclone is more than 120 km per hour, and a cyclone needs a constant supply of warm and moist air. So as the cyclone reaches the land, the supply of warm and moist air gradually stops and the cyclone dies. So what is the structure of cyclone? The center of the cyclone is a calm area. It is called eye of the storm. And a large cyclone is violently rotating mass of the air in the atmosphere 10 to 15 km high. The diameter of eye varies from 10 to 30 km. It is a region free of clouds and has a light wind. Around this calm and clear eye, there is a cloud region about 150 km in size. In this region, there are high speed wind and thick clouds with heavy rain. Away from this region, the wind speed gradually decreases and the formation of cyclone is very complex process as we have discussed, and you can see in figure 8.11 the formation of cyclone. So students, we can see that once a cyclone is formed, it begins to move over the surface of the ocean. And the area of very low pressure, as you can see in the figure also, at the center of the cyclone, that is called eye, its eye. Okay, and India has a large coastline which makes it we can say that the cyclone both in terms of intensity and frequency of the cyclone. So the east coast of India, especially the coast of Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu are more vulnerable to cyclones. So this is all about the formation of cyclones. Now destruction caused by cyclone. Cyclones can be very destructive. Strong winds push water towards the shore even if the storm is hundreds of kilometers away. These are the first indication of an approaching cyclone. The water waves produced by wind are so powerful that a person cannot overcome them. The low pressure in the eye lifts water surface in the center. The rising water may be high as 3 to 12 meters. It appears like water wall moving toward the shore. As a result, the sea water enters the low-lying coastal areas, causing severe loss of life and property. It also reduces the fertility of soil. Continuous heavy rainfall may further worsen that flood situation. High speed winds accompanying a cyclone can damage house, telephone and other communication systems, trees, etc. and causing tremendous loss of life and property. So students, we can say that cyclone is a very destructive. It can cause many disastrous situations, like it can damage the houses, telephones and communication system also. So because of cyclone there is a tremendous loss of life and property, so we have to take some precautions. After the cyclone hits area, we can take some precautions. So what precautions we can take, or effective safety measures which we can take against the cyclone, now we'll discuss. And students, a cyclone is known by different names in different parts of the world. It is called hurricane in the American continent. In Philippines and Japan, it is called typhoon. So there is a different name of cyclone in different countries. So students, what precautions we can take? Do not after the cyclone, what precautions we can take, or before the cyclone, which effective safety measure we can take, we will discuss after the topic tornadoes. So what is tornado, how it is formed? Tornado in our country, they are very frequent. A tornado is a dark funnel shaped cloud that reaches from the sky to the ground. Most of the tornadoes are weak. A violent tornado can travel at a speed at about 300 km per hour. Tornadoes may form within cyclones. The whole coastline of India is vulnerable to cyclones, particularly the east coast. So the west coast of India is less vulnerable to cyclonic storms, both in terms of intensity and frequency of the cyclone. So students, a tornado is a violent, dangerous, rotating column of winds having appearance of a dark funnel shaped cloud extending from the sky. So you can see in figure 8.16. See the shape of the tornado. It is a funnel shaped cloud extending from sky to the ground, and the funnel of the tornado sucks dust and everything, even people, near its base and throws them out near the top. A violent tornado, that is given in figure 8.16, can travel at a speed of about 300 km per hour. Most of the tornadoes are weak, and in our country tornadoes are not very frequent. So if you are ever get stuck inside your house during a tornado, then you have to take some precautions, and you can follow these steps, like you should take shelter in a room situated deep inside or underground having no windows. These rooms are called tornado shelters. And you can also shut windows and take shelter under a table, and you should bow down on knees, protecting head and neck, rising arms, as you can see in figure 8.15. So by following these steps, you can save yourself during the tornado. Now effective safety measures. What effective safety measure we can take during the cyclone or against the cyclone? A cyclone forecast and warning service. Rapid communication of warning to the government agencies, the ports, fishermen, ships, to the general public. So students, the following safety measures should be taken by the government for the people living in cyclone prone coastal area to prevent cyclone are an efficient cyclone forecast and warning service must be established, and rapid communication of warning to the concerned government agencies, the ports, fishermen, ships, and to the general public living in the coastal areas through radio, television, newspaper, and other means. Construction of cyclone shelter in the cyclonic prone area and administrative arrangements for moving people fast to safer place. So government vehicles such as buses and trucks should be kept ready to evacuate people likely to be affected by the cyclone and should be moved fast to safer place like cyclone shelter. So these effective measures should be taken against the cyclone. Now action on the part of the people. So we should not ignore the warning issued by meteorological department through TV, radio or newspaper, and we should make necessary arrangements to shift the essential household goods, domestic animals and vehicles etc. to safer place, and avoid driving on roads through standing water as flood may have damaged the roads, and keep ready the phone numbers of all emergency service like police, fire brigade and medical centers. And some other precautions if you are staying in a cyclone hit area. So what precautions to be taken after the cyclone hits area? Do not drink water that could be contaminated. Okay, so do not drink water that could be contaminated by flood, because uh, by by avoiding this water we can avoid the waterborne disease. Drink only clean water which has been stored for emergencies. Do not touch wet switches and fallen power lines, because they will create the electric shock. So do not touch wet electric switches and fallen electric power lines, and do not use electrical appliances if you are wet, if they are wet. Okay, so do not go out just for the sake of fun. Keep watching local television or listening to local radio for advice, and go out only when it is safe to do so. And do not pressurize the rescue force by making undue demands, and cooperate and help your neighbors and friends, and do not spread rumors. So these precautions we have to take after cyclones. Now advanced technology has helped. These days we are better protected in the early part of the last century. Coastal residents may have had less than day to prepare or evacuate their home from an oncoming cyclone. The world today is very different. Thanks to satellite and radars, a cyclone alert or cyclone watch is issued 48 hours in advance of any expected storm, and a cyclone warning is issued 24 hours in advance. The message is broadcast every hour or half hour when a cyclone is nearer the coast. Several national and international organizations cooperate to monitor the cyclone related disaster. So advanced technology for cyclone forecasting and the warning is now available. So the Indian Meteorological Center is now using advanced technology by making use of satellites and radars for cyclone forecasting and warnings. So the cyclone warnings are given through a variety of communication media such as radio, television, newspaper and police wireless network also. And there is a two cyclone warning are issued in two stages. The first stage warning, known as cyclone alert or cyclone watch, is issued 48 hours in advance of any expected storm or cyclone, and the second stage warning, known as cyclone warning, is issued 24 hours in advance, and this gives sufficient time to people to evacuate the cyclone prone area. So the message of cyclone warning is broadcasted every hour or half an hour when a cyclone is near to the coast. So now several national and international organizations cooperate to monitor cyclone related disaster also. So this is all about the chapter 8, that is wind, storm and cyclones. So students, thank you and keep watching the video.